Bonġu Sinjuri, u nilqakom għal dan il-webinar ta' ġemma fuq scams u frodi. Illum dan il-webinar ħajkun abbinat ukoll mal-pubblikazzjoni tal-ħames Little Black Book on Frauds and Scams minnaħa ta' ġemma in kollaborazzjoni din l-edizzjoni mal-HSBC Malta Foundation. Infakkarkom illi dan il-webinar qiegħed jiġi irrekordjat u ikun available fuq il-sajt ta' ġemma minnaw u ftit jiem oħra. Miegħi illum għal dan il-webinar għandna lil Mark Drago li huwa l-Head Financial Crime Compliance mill-HSBC li kienu kol kontribatur għal-publikazzjoni għal-kontenut ta' dan il-ktejjeb li ġemma qiegħda tippubblika wkoll illum. Adrian Vassallo, Chief Operating Officer tal-Malta Post, Anthony Kassar, Surġent fil-Cyber Unit fil-Malta Police Force, u David Spiteri Ginger, Team Leader ta' ġemma u konsulent fil-Ministeru tal-Ġustizzja Soċjali, Familja u Drittijiet ta' Tfal. Jiena Mario Kassar għal darbohra niltaqa' magħkom u ħanibda billi nofri naqra ta' kontest biex ngħidlek għal dan il-webinar billi nagħmel referenza għal riċerka li konna minna bħala ġemma għal-bidu ta' din is-sena biex nankraw biex ngħidlek kemm hija problema din is-sitwazzjoni. Biex nibdew waħda mill-rapporti li kien hemm fil-medja ftit ilu wera illi skont rapport illi kien ippubblikat scams u frauds kienu żdiedu b'260% matul perjodu ta' 3 snin. Fi-2019 l-ammont ta' scams and frauds kien il-fuq minn 1000 kien hemm il-fuq minn 1000 rapport li kien jirrappreżenta żieda ta' 260% fuq it-2016. Meta aħna bdejna niddagaw biex naraw il-pubbliku x'jaħseb fuq frodi u fuq scams, sibna illi 3/4 ta' dawk li rispondew ma jfittxux informazzjoni fuq scams. U min-naħa l-oħra qisu terz ta' dawk li rrispondew kienu konfidenti illi jekk ikunu qegħdin fuq pereżempju jaraw website u jaraw offerta kienu konfidenti li jkunu kapaċi jirrikonoxxu li dik kienet offerta fraudista. Din issir dan il-fenomenu jsir iktar prevalenti iktar ma wieħed jiltaqa' ma' nies illi huma akbar fl-età fil-waqt li tonqos meta wieħed jikkonsidra il-livell ta' edukazzjoni ta' dawk li jkun. U allura wieħed jara wkoll li kemm ir-rol tal-informazzjoni kemm huwa importanti biex wieħed jimmitiga din il-problema. Kenna 16% illi qalu li kienu vittmi ta' scam li kważi 4 minn kull 10 minnhom qalu li tilfu l-flus barra ovvjament il-prezz emozjonali li dak li jkun iħallas minħabba dan l-avveniment. 40% ma rrapportawx illi kienu vittmi ta' xi tip ta' scam. Ħafna drabi minħabba li ħassew li ma kienx hemm biżżejjed informazzjoni jew inkella li ma sterqitx informazzjoni konfidenzjali jew saħansitra għax l-ammont li jkunu tilfu jkun żgħir. U sibna wkoll illi maġġoranza kbira ta' dawk li rispondew kienu jippreferixxu li jkun hemm xi ħaġa ċentralizzata operata mill-gvern bħala helpline biex ikun irrapportat il-frodi. Dan huwa il-ħames parti tal-effort illi qed tagħmel ġemma biex tkabbar iżżid awareness dwar kif wieħed jista' jevita frodi, jevita scams, u hemm diversi stejjer illi nirringrazzjaw il-Mark illi daħal fihom biex tom il-ħajja biex ngħid hekk ta' diversi tipi ta' każi attwali illi nafu bihom fuq scams u frodi. U nħalli l-Mark jitkellem naqra iktar fuqhom ftit iktar tard, però kif tistgħu taraw hemm diversi approaches illi dawn ħadu. Jekk aħna allura ħanibda minnek Mark, kellek sem qawwi fil-kitba ta' dan il-ktejjeb. Min dawn kollha li semmejna f'dan il-ktieb, lim tara li huma l-iktar perikolużi, l-iktar li jistgħu iwasslu għal telf ta' finanzi min-naħa tal-vittma?
Kull tip ta' scam jew frodi jista' jħalli telf differenti lill-vittma. Ġifieri m'hemmx xi waħda partikolari li tajt ħadħalli iktar minn oħra, però huwa importanti wkoll li nifhmu li l-ammont finanzjarju mhuwiex biss l-impatt li daw it-tip ta' frodi jħallu fuq l-individwu. Daw it-tip ta' frodi jħallu impatt fuq l-individwu fis-sens ta' anke psikoloġiku, emozjonali, hemm noqqas ukoll ta' self-esteem xi kultant, jew self-confidence, ikun hemm noqqas ta' self-confidence fuq vittmi li jaqgħu għal dat tip ta' scams u fraud. U xi kultant anke jwassal għal impatt anke fiżiku, għax meta jkollok daw it-tip ta' affarijiet kollha mbagħad fl-aħħar iwassal għal fizika, però importanti mhux biss li nħarsu lejn l-ammont finanzjarju manka fuq l-impatt psikoloġiku u l-effett fiżiku li jħalli fuq il-vittmi. Min-naħa tiegħi l-iktar li forsi joltuni u li nara l-iktar li jkun hemm impatt li jkun painful huwa dawk l-scams li jolqtu lil vulnerabbli. Għax hemmhekk ħafna drabi għalkemm il-vulnerabbli qed nitkellem fuq l-anzjani u forsi nies oħra li ma tantx jistgħu jieħdu deċiżjoni waħedhom. Barra l-impatt finanzjarju, hemm l-impatt ieħor li jistgħu jaqgħu vittmi wkoll ta' scams bħalma jista' jaqa' kulħadd għall-scams normali, però dawn huma vulnerabbli wkoll għal scams jew frodi illi jsiru minn nies viċin tagħhom. U hemmhekk l-impatt ikun ħafna ikbar għax dawn huma nies li qed jafdawhom kuljum biex jagħmluhom il-bżonnijiet tagħhom kuljum u meta jkun hemm abbuż mbagħad u jinkixfu jew isiru jafu l-impatt ikun ħafna ikbar minn li xi ħadd illi forsi ma tafux. Li tiftakar li xi ħadd qarraq bik li kien daqshekk close tiegħek, l-impatt speċjalment psikoloġiku u emozjonali huwa ħafna ikbar. Però kollha jista' jwasslu għal ammonti kbar ta' telf.
U naħseb jiena illi dan li qiegħed tajt int bħalissa Mark għandu relevanza kbira meta toqgħod qis ikun qiegħed jiġri, qisu xi ħadd daħal fl-iktar spazju li inti tqis personali tiegħek. Jiġifieri vera ma daħallekx f'darek imma qisu daħal f'darek mod virtwali. U ħatfek minn hemmhekk u ħadlek dak illi jien nemmen illi sakemm inti m'intix vera espert fl-aspetti ta' teknoloġija u IT, dejjem ħad tħossok vulnerabbli u hija din il-vulnerabilità wkoll li wieħed ikun qiegħed jeksploitja. David, dan huwa l-5 ktieb li ġemma qiegħda tippubblika li jirrappreżenta investiment sinifikattiv kemm bħala ħin dedikat għal dan it-topic kemm bħala ovvjament effort. Kif taraħ dan allura qiegħed jgħin f'dak li huwa biex ngħidlek kważi il-focus tal-ġemma bħala li żżid l-awareness fuq financial capability? X'in ir-relevanza li tara fih?
Meta għamilna l-istrateġija fil-2017 sa 2019, elenkajna numru ta' domains li huma competencies li wieħed għandu jkun kif tajtaw mlibbes bihom biex ikun jista' jieħu deċiżjonijiet ħafna aħjar u deċiżjonijiet informati li għandhom x'jaqsmu ma' flusu jew flusa. Indunajna però, għalina strateġija xi ħaġa li mhix bħala xart mandamenti li hija fissa. Indunajna però li ma' dawk id-domains kellna nżidu domain ieħor li huwa financial abuse. So financial abuse jista' jsir b'mod diġitali, niżjed fuq bħala scam biex ngħidlek, jew inkella jista' jkun bħala frodi, u frodi tista' tkun kemm elettronika u kemm tradizzjonali. U dan bdejna naraw li il-rikonoxxenza ta' dan it-tip ta' scams and fraud mal-pubbliku ġenerali ma kienitx daqskemm wieħed jixtieq. U hemmhekk għamilna konklużjonijiet li isma' hemm bżonn li aħna bħala ġemma li kif tajt il-mandat tagħna huwa biex nedukaw biex nrendu persuna tkun iżjed informata biex tuħu deċiżjoni tajba li niħlu f'dan l-ispazju. U għamilna żewġ inizjattivi. L-ewwel inizjattiva kienet li inħarsu lejn il-mod diġitali, l-scams and frauds li jsiru bl-iktar mod diġitali. Hemmhekk studjajna u rajna x'kienu din jagħmlu pajjiżi barra minn Malta, partikolarment ħana nħarsu li żjed lejn l-Anglo-Saxon countries. U dawn kienu żviluppaw kunċett li rajnieh kien interessanti ħafna, huwa kunċett ta' Little Black Books. U rajnieh li nistgħu kif tajt nuħduh u nagħmluh tagħna għax li kien interessanti huwa mhux biss li jitkellem fuq scam u fraud, però li jgħidlek x'tagħmel jekk tiġi skemjat u frodat. Jiena nuża l-internet naħseb wieħed minn tal-bidu ġifieri għax kont involut fil-qafas tal-informatika kemm strateġikament u kemm teknoloġikament. U biex tipprova ssib l-azzjoni li għandek tuħu meta tiġi frodat, ngħidilkom mhux faċli, ġifieri naħseb ħlejt ġurnata nfittex il-links u naru dak juħdok u link hija mkissra dak ma juħdokx, eċetera. Allura dal-modell rajnih tajjeb għax qed jagħti informazzjoni ta' x'jiġri wara li huwa ħafna importanti. Fatti rajna f'numru ta' garzetti dal-aħħar fejn propju nies li ġew frudati il-panic ta' wara u ma jafux fejn se jmorru li jfisser ukoll ġifieri il-messaġġ tagħna mhux qed jgħaddi daqskemm nixtiequh. Li ħadna dal-konċett ta' Little Black Books, issa fraud u scams dawna jitbidlu minn sena l-oħra, ġifieri jinħolqu opportunitajiet ġodda li l-frodista huwa xogħlu biex jeksploitja dak il-frodi. Jekk nitkellmu din is-sena u s-sena li għaddiet, l-ammont ta' frodi li saru li għandhom relazzjoni mal-COVID u mbagħad ma' affarijiet ansiljari bħal COVID ġolna noqogħdu d-dar allura bħal free streaming ta' television kien sinifikanti. U l-intenzjoni tagħna b'dawn il-Little Black Books huwa li apparti dejjem noħorġu l-konoxxenza ta' x'għandek x'tagħmel, dejjem noħorġu l-aħħar scams and frauds li hemm qegħdin fis-suq. Din il-strateġija bħalna fi sħab ma' l-Limor ta' Skills Foundation Infatti magħhom ħriġna sensiela u dawn qegħdin nippostjaw ta' infographics ta' x'għandek x'tagħmel għal naħseb 35 skem u frod elettroniku differenti u palissa. L-intenzjoni tagħna però mhux li nifqu bil-Little Black Book biss għax nifhmu li għal setturi differenti tal-popolazzjoni il-mezzi soċjali u elettroniċi mhux neċessarjament huwa l-aħjar mezz biex tilħaq. Infatti, l-idea kienet li ma li Skills Malta Foundation nibdew nagħmlu sessions fil-kunsilli lokali. Dawn ma sarux għax il-COVID ħarbatna. Però hija l-intenzjoni tagħna li bħalissa nitkellmu infatti iffirmajna Memorandum of Understanding mal-Local Councils Association biex jekk ma jerġgħu ma kunawx xi sfrattatura oħra bil-COVID, hija lejn Ottubru nibdew dawn is-sessions. Se jiena semmejt li hemm prong oħra li aħna bħala ġamma bdejna nagħmlu. Nafu li hemm bagħad hemm abbuż li huwa elderly abuse. Norbot ma dak li qal Mark li dan ħafna drabi jsir minn nies ta' trusted party. Ki trusted party tista' tkun membru tal-familja, tista' tkun social carer, tista' tkun il-cleaner, fejn inti daħħalthom f'darek u dawn abbużaw minnek. Għamilna sentej naħdmu ma' assoċjazzjoni biex l-intenzjoni tagħna kienet nibdew ċertu code of ethics għall-istituzzjonijiet finanzjarji biex jisaħħu il-mekkanizmi tagħhom biex ikunu iżjed viġilanti għal dawk is-sinjali għax il-bank huwa wieħed jew istituzzjoni finanzjarja mhux neċessarjament il-bank huwa wieħed mill-entitajiet li sa jmiss u għandu potenzjal li jaqbad li qed issir frodi. Xi ħadd mill-familja tiegħek qed juża l-kard tiegħek għax sab il-PIN number miktub u qed jiġbed minnha u qed jiġbed ammonti li mhumiex normali taħt il-pattern li kienet jiġri qabel. Għamilna sentejn naħdmu magħhom, però sfortunatament ikolli ngħid ċertu disprezz li meta wasalna biex nippubblikaw kien hemm irtirata. Madankollu bħalissa qegħdin nagħmlu working group mal-Ministeru tal-Senior Citizens fejn l-intenzjoni hija li sal-aħħar ta' Settembru nkunu għamilna strateġija mill-ġdid ta' kif sa nindirizzaw dan it-tip ta' frodi, financial elderly abuse u optimisti li nagħmlu tajjeb għas-sentej li tlifna u nkunu f'sitwazzjoni li nkunu ħafna iżjed viżibbli f'dan l-istadju. Riċerka sfortunatament empirika m'hemmx fil-pubbliku, nafu li ssir, dal-aħħar rajna interview minn CEO ta' wieħed miż-żewġ banek il-kbar li bla tlaqliq qal li kemm kien taken aback, surprise mhix il-kelma tajba, inħasad kemm faċċa u miss ma' tat-tip ta' abbuż f'Malta. Ġifieri s-sinjali kollha juru li din hija sitwazzjoni li ngħixu fiha sta tiżdied għax aħna bħala popolazzjoni nikbru qegħdin, ġifieri il-forecast tal-popolazzjoni juru li minn hawn sa ftit ieħor 14-il sena oħra 35% tal-popolazzjoni ta' tkun iżjed minn 65, mela il-potenzjal ta' dal-frott sa jikber. U huwa importanti li entitajiet hemm barra li għandhom x'jaqsmu u għandhom roli jistgħu jilagħbu biex nedukaw, biex nsaħħu l-mekkaniżmi tagħna jkunu parti minn din l-istrateġija u nusa din l-opportunità biex ngħidilhom li aħna bil-bibien miftuħin lesti, anzi nsaqsukom biex tidħlu magħna biex ukoll nuħdu dan is-suġġett il quddiem.
Thank you, David. Naqbel miegħek illi da suġġett jimmerita diskussjoni ampja. Jiena kont ukoll involut f'dan l-inizjattivi li qiegħed issemmi u
Għanna ndaħallek ftit qed nara kumment li għandna nies barranin għal stant naqilbu
persuna waħda kien hemm li bdejnieh bil-Malti ma nafx jekk kif trid tkellem, jekk irridux naqilbu bl-Ingliż.
Le, jiena l-protokollu hekk għandna nies barranin nitkellmu bl-Ingliż.
Okay. Għalikom all right, signori?
Mhux problema.
Okay. Right. I would like to, at this stage, launch a poll that we prepared just to get a feel, so to speak, of the extent to which the current audience has been touched with their experience in terms of scams. Adrian, there have been two developments recently in terms of how e-commerce is conducted. One, obviously, the Brexit and the effect that a lot of consumers in Malta used to purchase items from the UK or websites located in the UK. The other is the fact that VAT will be levied on all imported goods irrespective of their value. Before 1st July, items which had a small value, I believe 26 euros, I'm not certain of the figure, or 126, I'm not sure. 22 euro, did not attract VAT. Has these developments complicated life for you? I would imagine so, but have they offered also an opportunity for scammers to become more active in this regard?
Yes, obviously, scammers will be following what's happening around us, so they know about Brexit and the removal of the 22 euro threshold. Although these type of messages and emails were seen before, we have seen a large increase in messages and SMSs and emails being sent to our clients from March this year till now. Basically, even this week, we are still receiving messages from our clients asking if the messages they are receiving are scams or not. Yes, I think the fact that there was Brexit in January and the removal of the low value threshold in July has increased these messages, and scammers are taking the opportunity to try and scam various clients. These messages, the postal messages, the ones for delivering, are being sent also to other, not only to seem to be from Malta Post, but also from other courier operators and also abroad. So we have seen articles that such messages are also sent in other countries in Europe, and all postal operators are informing their clients to pay attention and not to fall for these scams. So as regards the changes, Brexit, we saw a large volume of items that had to be processed through customs, so payment volumes of the amount to be paid increased. In July, at the beginning, in the first 2 weeks, we also saw an increase in the amount of items that required payments, obviously due to the removal of the low threshold. But since in July, there was also the introduction of the import one-stop shop, where non-EU sellers can register for an IOSS number and start collecting VAT during checkout. We are seeing in the last 2 weeks of July a reduction in volumes for non-EU mail items that require payment in Malta. because obviously the Maltese clients are buying more from these websites that are registered to the import one-stop shop, and we can say that the major websites, the most popular websites, are registered to the import one-stop shop. So in such cases, the VAT will be paid to the seller, and there will be no additional payments in Malta. So the number of messages that we in Malta Post legitimately send to our clients will reduce. Another type of scam that we have seen lately is that an seller sends a different item than the one that the buyer actually purchases online. We have seen cases of mainly they are ads on social media. So you do a Google search and you're searching for some items. Obviously, those you will start getting adverts on social media related to the search that you have done, and the offers would be almost too good to be true, but people fall for these offers. They purchase the items online, and instead of the purchased items, they would receive something small. We had cases like face masks, toothbrushes, stickers, keychains that will fit inside the letterbox. They use a method of shipping that does not require for the end client to sign for the package. So although it is tracked, so our postal operators will post the item inside the letterbox, and the customers then will complain with us that either they received something else or that our postal operators have delivered wrongly because they did not receive the item that they ordered. So we have, yes, this year we have seen an increase in both types of scams.
Interesting. Let's see what our let me share the results of our very short poll. So, you know, the vast majority of the people attending this webinar today, 88%, have in fact received a communication to the effect that, you know, which they thought was a scam or a fraud. 2/3 know or have been a victim of fraud or scams. And in terms of biggest concerns, what we have is securing personal data online, 81%, missing out on a real request, not being able to identify good or legitimate offers, 31%. Not keeping up with different scams and fraud. So this, I think, you know, it underlines, David, what you were saying in terms of ÇEMMA's approach to this topic of continually informing the public or making of the latest scams that are out in the marketplace. I think this is very, very interesting, and leads me to the next question directed at Anthony. What are the trends right now in terms of scams? What kind of scams are you seeing as being more common? The increase, as we saw, has been phenomenal. How are you keeping up with all this, Anthony?
Well, lately we've been receiving a lot of DHL scams and Malta Post scams, considering that the statistics went up by like a 200% margin. Where in 2020 we're investigating around 600 cases at this time regarding fraud. Now we're over 1,300. But basically the influx was through these postal scams, and there were some also phone scams where people spoof a phone number and they call a person, and eventually they invent a story so that they will pass their personal details, so on and so forth, and they take the money from their card.
I've heard instances where there seems to be now a technology where the email address can be kind of hidden, or a proxy used, or a phone number being generated that does not really
Spoofed. We
exist.
call it spoof. They spoof the telephone.
How do they do that, Anthony? How do they manage to do that?
Right now, we're still investigating on what's the modus operandi, how they are operating in doing that. We're in connection and communicating with our service providers. Eventually, a task force even has been established in that case, and we're still investigating how they are managing to do that.
So to be clear, I can receive a call on a number that appears to be a local number.
Yes.
Okay. But in fact, it is a fictitious number.
Exactly.
This is how it would work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When you call.
So what would be your advice? In these cases, how could one become alerted that it might not be someone from who they are claiming to be?
Yes, they eventually they even impersonated we as police officers. So we're advising the public out there. So because when you receive the call, it's an answering machine that's talking to you, and then it says to you, press number 1, and then eventually you'll pass through to someone on the other line. So what we're suggesting to the public out there is that when they receive this type of calls, they just cut the line and don't keep on talking and giving personal information.
Okay. So basically, and I know that the banks, for example, at least I receive frequent advices from my bank saying, we never ask for personal details over the phone. We never request them in emails. So be aware. And I guess vigilance is the best tool that the consumer would have to guard against this. But in terms of sophistication, how are they becoming more sophisticated? I'm looking at Mark, Adrian, or Anthony to debate on this. How are they becoming more sophisticated? What should we be watching out for?
Although as more services move to digital instead of sophistication, it's more an opportunity. So the opportunity has grown as I said, more services move to digital. So the technology, is advancing for everybody, and fraudsters have more time probably than anybody else to exploit those technological advancement. But in most cases, it is not only the technology; it is the opportunity and the playing field that has increased. Today, it's not that you can go to a shop near you to buy something. You can buy from anywhere in the world. So that expecting something to be received from anywhere in the world is normal today. It wasn't normal yesterday. So, I mean, I think the first thing is this: the playing field has grown dramatically over the last few years, and especially with COVID, where people were buying more online, people were staying more inside and ordering everything via telephone, via internet, via email. There's also a more information available to the scammers and fraudsters, because we give a lot of information when we have our social media profiles, when we interact with our merchants. So we're giving a lot of information, and that information can be exploited as well, or we will be providing that to the scammers themselves. Another issue, I think, is people are more in a hurry today, and they don't have time to read and understand what they're being asked of. When they receive an email, when they receive a phone call, when they receive an SMS message, okay, they just click and provide the information without a lot of thoughts. And most of the time, because they were expecting something very similar, they're in a hurry and that just do it. I think from my view. And also one last thing, fraudsters had become more organized. So these now are organized criminals. They have different workers working for them for each step of the fraud activity. So you have people working to start off the scam, to develop the message. There are people then who are responsible to deliver the message. There are people then who are responsible to take action once somebody is hooked on a scam email or an SMS. And there are also people who are responsible to do actions after the scam and fraud is identified. For example, there are a number of cases where once a scam or a fraud is identified and the victim understands that this is a fraud, he will get another phone call from someone claiming to be a lawyer who will help him to recover his funds. And that is another scam in itself. So this is a full organized organization doing these type of scams.
In fact, earlier, just before the webinar started, Anthony and I were talking about this, and I was fascinated to hear about this from Anthony. Perhaps you can add some more information about how sophisticated these are.
Yes, eventually I agree with Mark at 100% because these criminals are always evolving, and even nowadays you see it's a big playground because they are changing, they're stealing profiles from our social media, and then they will use them to scam other people, and you have a vulnerability there because people they will trust them as their friends, or I mean as a legal entity. So they're evolving continuously. I mean, it's a big playing field.
I recently received a message from Google, which was an authentic message saying that there was a possible breach on one of the sites that I use in terms of the passwords that are saved on Google, which led then to me trying to change all my passwords because I was getting a message that they were compromised. But what was interesting was that I was getting notifications from Facebook, for example, but like 2 or 3 notifications a day saying that someone had logged in and they were asking for authentication because I had set up two-factor authentication to access it. What sort of measures can someone who isn't IT savvy, who isn't an expert in security, how should we be going about securing our laptops, our mobiles, to make it more difficult for our details to be stolen? What can we do?
From our end, we as a police officers, we always suggest that the public out there, apart that it should remain vigilant. I mean, they can communicate with Facebook or with the social app in question, and they'll verify if this message they received has been sent through Facebook. I mean, because in my experience, we had not a lot of cases, but there were some minimal cases where people were receiving these types of messages in order so that when they receive the two-way factor, they will pass the two-way factor to this criminal and he can access their Facebook link. So one has always to keep the internet as an open source for information and verify the facts or the messages he's receiving.
Interesting. Adrian, what is Malta Post? How is Malta Post trying to assist its clients, the consumers at large, to be more vigilant, not to fall for these scams?
So from our side, obviously, when our clients inform us about these messages, we issue press releases and we inform the public on social media about these scams. So whether by email or by SMS. So we are receiving both messages in both formats. And we also have created an online page, www.maltapost.com/scam protection, informing the public of what they need to be aware of and for both types of scams, so both the message types and even the sending of small objects instead of the one they ordered. So there is a page where we provide such information and examples of how they can notice that the message is a scam. Obviously, we always inform our clients not to press any links, or if they press links, they need to check the URL address. And in our case, the URL address should always be our URL address, so www.maltapost.com. From our side, whenever, obviously, we also inform our clients that we don't charge for delivery. So most of these messages are for delivery of the item. So basically, we do not charge for delivery. Delivery is included in the postage price that the Maltese buyer paid the seller abroad. So in our case, we don't charge for delivery. So what payments that we ask for are mainly customs payments, VAT and duty, and the processing fees. Whenever there is a redelivery, so the client orders a redelivery, there is a fee for that redelivery, but obviously it's the client that has to go into our website and there's a page and they fill all the details, and then they need to pay for the delivery. So we don't ask for the delivery payments. Also, when we ask for the payments for customs and processing fee, what we normally do is either send an email, not SMS, or a paper notification. We post a paper notification inside the client letterbox. And although there are links that they can press from the emails that we send, they can decide not to press any links and follow just the instructions that there are on the emails. And the instructions are mainly to go to our tracking page. So it's an official tracking, our official tracking page, www.maltapost.com/tracking, and input their tracking number, and in the tracking page there will be a button where they need to pay, that they need to press, and they pay the charges. So actually, from our side, all our payments are done from our website, so they don't need to press any links from any email or message they receive. Obviously, they need to pay attention, because the messages, the SMSs mainly, they mention tracking numbers which are not in our format, in the postal tracking number format, which normally are 2 letters, 9 numbers, and 2 letters, with the 2 letters at the end being the country of origin. So if they are not, if they do not relate to a country, so even that, it's a fictitious tracking number. In the case of the other scam, where they buy something from a fake website, we inform our clients to use sites like Scam Advisor and Trustpilot to check on the validity of that website, and also to read reviews on that website to be sure that the website that they are ordering from is not a fake one. Even they need to check the contact details. For example, sometimes they just provide an email address as a contact details. They don't provide any addresses, no phone numbers. For some, it will be obvious that the website is a scam, but for others, they just look at the price, they see that the item is very cheap, they buy it, and then they will receive something else. So we inform our public by, as I mentioned earlier, by issuing press releases, by having that page on our website, and even attending TV programs and radio programs, and also television news, and we inform the public in that way.
Earlier, Adrian, before the webinar, we were talking about the introduction of the one-stop shop in Europe so that, to process the VAT payments for e-commerce sites. And I asked you then whether that would indicate that there is less likely to be a scam in the works if they are registered for that one-stop shop. You said not necessarily. Maybe you can explain that a bit more.
Yes, because the import one-stop shop, so the major platforms, selling platforms like eBay and AliExpress and others, they have registered for this import one-stop shop. So if they provide the seller information of what their IOSS registration number is, the seller can sell and advertise that they sell an item with a price. The Maltese buyer will pay for the item and for the VAT of that item, but then the seller can still send something else, something cheap, declare as for customs purposes, declare that they sent the cheap item. They will pay VAT for that cheap item, so the seller will pay VAT for that cheap item, but he still would have gained the price difference between the item ordered and the item that he sent. So we have to see, this is still a new procedure, so it started on the 1st of July. We will need to see if this will reduce these type of scams or not. What it will reduce is the amount of messages that we send, of emails and paper notifications that we send for items requiring payment, because obviously in these cases there's no payments to be done in Malta, so we will reduce the amount of emails and paper notifications, and hopefully maybe the scammers will not use these methods to try to scam people to pay online.
Mark, coming to banks, how should one, proceed if they believe they have been scammed when using, for example, a credit card? What kind of protection do they have, if they have any?
The most important thing is to advise the bank immediately. We also urge our customers to file a police report, because it's important as well that the police have visibility of all the scam activities happening as well. It's very difficult to say because we look at the cases on a case-by-case basis. There are certain parameters where we look at the activity, what happened, etc., before we can say what rights there are in particular cases.
Mm-hmm. So, is there the possibility of someone who is scammed recovering their money?
There is a possibility. Currently, there is a lot of ongoing discussions. Even there is a task force that has been created between the banks, the telecoms operator, the police, and these are currently being discussed.
So, whatever the scam, whatever the level of loss, your advice is always report it, because it could also lead to other things. It could be, so to speak, the wedge to a bigger scam, as you mentioned.
Yes, it is very important to advise immediately. From a bank point of view, as well as Malta Post Adrian said, we do have on our website as well the current scams. So they are published, the SMS scams, the telephone call scams. So we do on the front page advise customers of the current scams. And we also have some very good videos on how to identify phishing emails, phishing, and other types of scams on our website. And from an education point of view, we have a full website as well with all the type of frauds as well. And we do participate in such seminars and also contribute to institutions like the ÇEMMA Foundation and others, so that we raise awareness.
Mark, earlier, just let me share again the different types of scams that are covered in the the little black book of scams and frauds part 5, which is being launched. Of these, if you were to pick one of them, which one would you pick as being perhaps the less obvious, let's put it this way?
The less obvious. I think the ones that might have a lot of people clicking away is the online bargains one, I think, because everybody is up for a bargain, and sometimes the websites that you will be redirected to buy from are very, very good. They're very near or copied from real websites. And sometimes the bargains are good bargains, and they don't sometimes give you an impression that this bargain is a fake bargain. So I think, and they can reach a lot of people. So I think the online bargains one is a very good scams from the fraudster's point of view, to lure people to click and purchase.
But looking at them, from my perspective, I would choose the scams involving mules as being the more dangerous for the victim, because they can also become part liable to legal action. Am I correct in that, Anthony?
Yes.
If I'm part of the scheme, a victim of the scheme.
Yes, in fact you are. As I think, if I reckon, we had about 2 cases that unintentionally people they were used as a mule for money laundering. But I'm not. You have to understand that I'm not free to speak about it. But yes, we had two similar cases.
What we can say about this, because maybe we need a small explanation about what a mule is. So basically, when a fraudster manages to lure somebody to give away his card number, or to make a transaction, they obviously are not going to ask the victim to send the money to their account, because the first thing that the authorities will do is to follow the money, and they will look at the beneficiary account which received the funds. So what they do is they recruit what we call mules, and these mules will offer their accounts to be used by these fraudsters. Sometimes this is done deliberately by the mules. They know that they are doing something illegal. Sometimes they would not know. And for example, there will be an advert to work with a foreign company some hours a week, and you'll get paid a very good percentage of the income you will receive into your account. And normally, then you will provide your account number, and the fraudsters will send the money from the victims into your account, and they will give you instructions on what to do with the money. Most of the time, they will ask you to either transfer it to another mule. You will not know that it's a mule with some excuse or another, and keep a percentage out of that amount. Sometimes they ask the mule to cash out the money and sends it via a different payment service provider, not from a bank, so that they will start losing the trace as well of the money flows. And there are various other methods that mules are recruited. Sometimes we see this as well as being advertised on some online newspapers in Malta as well. You get these adverts like work from home, get good returns of money, you only need a computer and some hours a week. So these probably are mule recruitment, but there are cases as well where mules were recruited without any knowledge that they're doing something illegal, such as you are selling something on the internet, you will be contacted, you agree to sell the thing that you had to sell, and you will be advised to provide the account number so that they will transfer the money to you, and they will transfer more money than the selling price of your item. And then they will give you instructions to keep the money for your item and to resend the money to another account number. So, but the mule is a very important part of the chain in the fraud. And I've included this story about a mule here because I believe that you can also be a victim and you are helping the fraudsters perpetrate their fraud, and you will be liable as well for money laundering if you allow your account to be used for illegal activity.
So in this case, if you were to be used to end up receiving a lot more money than what you had agreed to sell on, then what should you do? Should you report it to the police, or should you just return the money?
I would report it to the police and also to the bank.
And also, right. We've come to the last 5 minutes of our webinar of the time allocated. Final thoughts, Adrian, from your end.
So from our side, obviously we recommend our clients to pay attention. When in doubt, we are always available, and they can send the message to us either by sending a Facebook message or email, and we can provide feedback on whether the message that they received is a scam or not. As I informed earlier, from our side, all our payments can be done directly from our website, so they don't need to press any links from the messages or emails that they receive. And it's important that if they are in doubt, they ask us about if that message is a scam or not.
Thank you, Adrian. Anthony, from your end, last words of advice?
Yes, to the public out there, apart from being vigilant and checking that their security settings are always up to date and updated continuously, eventually they always can use the internet as a source of information where they can check and verify any links that they receive. And apart from that, nowadays we have our Facebook page, the Malta Police Force, which is currently updated every day on the type of scams and what is happening around us. And evidently they can communicate with us at the cybercrime or send an email to the Malta Police Force.
Thank you, Anthony. Mark?
Well, I think we need
final thought.
We need to be always on the alert, and we don't take things for granted. So receiving an email from your friend, it's not the sender that is more important, but it's the content. So we need to focus not on the sender, but on the content. What is the ask? What are they asking me to do? Does this make sense? Have I played in a lottery to receive an email that I won a lottery? Okay, some with the prices most of us are expecting prices, but as Adrian said, is this right? When normally I go on the Malta Post website to do my payment. So it is more of not the sender, but the content and what is the ask that we need to focus on. Because as we said, the sender can be spoofed, can be changed, and can be shown to be coming from anyone that the fraudster wants.
And of course, you know, the suspicion always be suspicious where, you know, you ask for a small amount which seems innocuous, but it opens up the money purse, so to speak. David, final thoughts, way forward for GEMMA in this regard?
In our series of little black books, which are both in Maltese and English, and you can download them from the GEMMA website, we have 10 simple commandments. And if you follow those 10 simple commandments, you are probably protected from 95% of those of scams. If it's too good, then something is wrong with it. We will be issuing the 7th little book of scams towards the end of January. This will be based on research and discussions with fora that we are networked with. And the purpose of the January Little Black Book would be to present what the networks are identifying as new threats or regeneration of old threats. For example, the Nigerian scam, which is one of the very early scams where you have people playing on your emotions so that you send them money, has been making a very strong comeback. Presenting our information and knowledge by means of our social and e-channels, we recognize that we need to complement this with face-to-face sessions. It was our intention to do this from the outset, but unfortunately COVID prohibited that. As I mentioned earlier, we are working with the Local Councils Association, and the plan is that we will be together with the eMalta Skills Foundation holding this kind of debate, presenting knowledge in communities, and we hope to start this in October. On behalf of GEMMA and my colleagues, and I thank now our web seminar master, Mario, for the good work he does, and the guests that have participated today. I thank HSBC Malta Foundation for putting together this little black book of scams. This is slightly different from the previous ones because in this little black book of scams, actual stories of scamming that occurred in Malta are related here. Okay, this does not necessarily imply that they are solely from the HSBC banking financial institutions, but these are real stories, real things that really happened. I thank the participants for being with us, and I invite you to visit GEMMA at its portal, gemma.gov.mt. We update at a minimum of 2 posts a week that relate with financial capability content. Lately, we've been doing a lot of content on scams, given the predominance of the issue in this year. We are also available on Facebook. We upload around 2 contents a week, and we are visible on LinkedIn, where we upload 1 content a week. You can register as a member with us on the GEMMA portal, and you will receive every month a synthesis of the posts that we would have uploaded on our portal. We have a very large library of videos that relate to different aspects of financial capability. We have over 120. So we urge you to visit us and to share us with your colleagues and friends. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, David and Mark. We will not be having the monthly webinar during August. It's time to take some time off, but for everyone. But we will hopefully be seeing you at the end of September with a new webinar. Thank you all, and goodbye. Have a good day.